What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to Beyond the 90. We've got a very special guest with us today. Really happy to have a Foxes fan from India as well. Akash, great to have you on the show. Loving the shirt as well. How are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, it's a huge honor for an Indian to get its representation in your show because we always watch out for the LCFC related content, and you are definitely up there because you have got some great guests and insight into the game. So yeah, just unbelievable to be on your show.
No, more than happy for any fans. So if you're available, if you want to watch, make sure you get in touch with us on our Twitter or any other comments. We'll try and get you on the show as well. But I just wanted to get your initial thoughts, Akash. Like, how did you first get involved in Leicester, and what made you want to follow the Foxes in the first place?
First time, when Leicester City bought in Esteban Cambiaso, a player of that magnitude coming into a relatively unknown team in our subcontinent, Leicester City. So that was the first time that Leicester City had my attention. So I watched that season. You remember the Manchester United game, which was a big revelation, and
Mhm.
it really was a magnanimous game. After that, slowly Esteban Cambiaso was gone. Illa came in, but that didn't pan out the way everybody wanted it to. But everybody was keeping a steady watch because after that great escape, everybody had their attention diverted toward Leicester City. And then the unbelievable happened. But before the unbelievable even happened, Jamie Vardy was racking up those goals to eventually topple Ruud van Nistelrooy's goal scoring record in consecutive games. And that was I think a moment when I became a Foxes fan, to be honest, because Jamie Vardy, the way he was, I was like fascinated by it, like a non-league player coming into Leicester City and climbing up the ranks, and then he suddenly gets such a form, and
Mhm.
was intrigued. It was poetry in motion because the final game was against Manchester United, and you have to dethrone Ruud van Nistelrooy at Old Trafford, so it was huge. And yeah, that happened. And then comes the obviously the glorified Premier League win, which was 5,000 to 1, as Rob Tanner says. So yeah, it was sort of unbelievable, but yeah, it was kind of a shocker at that point. But gradually supporting the Foxes, being accustomed with the team, and after a season, a small club like Leicester needs to be it's substantial. I mean, they need to sell assets, become stable in the Premier League. A lot of people don't understand the factor that why we need to sell Kante after one season. We need to find our sustainability in the long term. But yeah, 2 or 3 seasons things didn't look too bright, but it wasn't looking too shabby either. But yeah, the FA Cup win at the end of the day was, my first moment where I believed it was not a fluke, it was not a miracle or something. It was a gradual rise, and then that Tillemans goal. I mean, it was icing on the cake. So
Yeah.
that's my journey to become a Leicester supporter.
Yeah, again, you've picked such a great time at the end of the day to be a Foxes fan, and
Yeah,
again, from that season, from the that season, I remember coming down and down, and remembering that potentially we were going back to the Championship, and then everything turning around. But again, as you probably found out with Leicester City, it's never a boring moment. They have ways of disappointing you and hurting you, and at the same time, it's good, but it always comes. There's always some ups and downs throughout the entire process.
absolutely. Even in India, when you are supporting a club like Leicester City, it rolls a lot of eyeballs. But at the end of the day, Leicester City has been incorporated in my life in such a way that if they have a fantastic game, even a draw, I will have a happy week. But if
Mhm.
even if we, fall down after the 80th minute and we crumble down, it's gonna take a toll on my sleep.
as it does, but normally, hopefully, it's not too bad because I know at times it could really destroy you. But obviously, you've touched on your origin of supporting the front through Cambiaso. I just want to see about obviously you mentioned Jamie Vardy, and we see it as the underdog story from our perspective. But from an India's perspective, is that something that the fairy tale or that kind of love story of football, or does that really resonate with the people of or people that you've met?
It does. What happens initially is you don't get to see a similar story as Leicester in anywhere in football, but a lot of the times a small team does win a championship, but it's not that much at odds as Leicester was. But
Hmm.
even after they do, they are not able to channel or keep their momentum up high, and they definitely can't win another silverware in the next decade or so. But
Hmm.
when we do that and constant on a constant basis, we are, upsetting the other big teams. And obviously, when it happened during the 2016 season, it was a shocking revelation. People who didn't know about Leicester, they had a if their team was not in direct contention with us, like Arsenal or Tottenham, they
Mhm.
were supporting Leicester City to win the championship. But after that one-off event happened, and after the dust settled down, they sort of became jealous towards Leicester City, because nobody was accepting the fact that a small team, it simply didn't make any sense, to have a small percentage of the salary that other teams are having, and they are, constantly defeating teams like Chelsea, Manchester United, Manchester City. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's going to get on your nerves if you're a rival supporter. So that has happened. And right now, if you go to somebody and say we support Leicester City first, they will give a shrewd look and they will say that, yeah, you are on borrowed time. The glory days will be coming up short. But we know, because of our steady rise, that we are going to stay in the Premiership for a longer period of time. And hopefully, we are going to crack that top four ceiling next time.
Yes,
Third time
that's
is a charm.
yeah, it has to be. I mean, this season has to be the time that we get it, and we've recruited about that. And just saying that, obviously, we had the league, and that could have been it in 2016. And then now we've kind of obviously under Brendan Rodgers, we've managed to get to a point where yes, we've not got the top four, we've missed out 2 years in a row, but we're in that top six bracket now and constantly beating bigger teams with a much bigger budget, as you're saying. So going forward from that, what do you think, obviously, for the next season and just the future for Leicester City is like?
The task at hand. I know that to get a right winger, and the
Hmm.
second thing would be to get a proper centre back,
Hmm.
because Morgan left and we are sort of shabby in that area. A little bit of foundation is needed over there. That's the initial planning, and I hope Patson Daka shines. I mean, that's our best bet, right? We gave up
Hmm.
Edward and we brought in Daka in, so huge expectations on his shoulder. But as we often see, football stories do get a little bit of sad at sometimes. The expectation doesn't match, and it's a huge responsibility to eventually be a heir to Jamie Vardy's throne.
Hmm.
And it will take to try to test the water for a few seasons, 1 or 2 seasons, I feel like that, and then we go. I think we have some brilliant leaders. The fan favorite is obviously Tielemans to lead the squad next after Kasper Schmeichel. But to me, Tielemans is a very docile character, very friend, a very sweet kind of a person. So I
Hmm.
want that, Roy Keane vibe, and I want Chandler Soyuncu to be our next captain. That's my personal preference. I think the
Hmm.
team is fantastic. The average age of the squad is very good, and we are investing for the future. Definitely, to crack the top four ceiling would be a near priority for us. But in the long term, I can see this sort of guys developing. Aside from Kasper Schmeichel, I don't see any aged guy, and Jamie Vardy. There is not many aged guys in the squad, so things can only get better, because even at that younger squad, you saw like playing Luke Shaw, James Justin, anybody. We picked Wesley Fofana, 19 years old, compared to Saliba, but he proved the doubters wrong. I mean, everybody doubted that. I mean, it's not easy by any stretch of imagination that coming into the Premier League as a center defender, when you are going up against players like Harry Kane or an Aguero or Mohamed Salah, it's going to be very difficult. And if you're coming
Hmm.
from League One and in a smaller team, it's going to take a toll on you if you are, stringing up bad performances. But our luck has favored us thus far, so I am very optimistic, and I hope that the overall management, John Rudkin, everybody in the back room is building a squad for the future, and it's already being displayed at the larger forum, because the way we have been, smashing the windows in this transfer window. I mean, I'm in love with the team right now. Whatever is happening behind the back room, I'm in love with it.
Yeah, me too. I mean, the business they're doing, we'll probably get onto a little bit about some transfers that are coming up soon as well. But overall, I think we are doing some business. And as you were saying, with the likes of Daka, I looked at him and thought, we're not going to get him. We'll end up getting Edward. And then that didn't happen. Then Daka came, and I've just been I'm so excited about him. Samora is another one as well. Obviously, a very technical player. And again, if we're talking about before, when we had Brad on the channel, we were saying we shop in different markets to where the other players, where the other top six shop. We shop like this level down. But you look at the likes of Daka, you look at the likes of Samori, both of them were wanted by top six clubs. So we are pushing into that now. And bearing in mind they're building the squad out, is this kind of the level that you'll see that you think Leicester City can be and kind of push up to get that top four? Because there's part of that, and also we've not lost anybody so far. I know there's been a few rumours, but normally there's one per season that we know going into the season that we would lose. This season it doesn't. It looks a lot less likely.
I think any player, even if you consider the rumors, I think any player leaving us at this high point would be missing out on very good fortunes that are lined up ahead.
Mm-hmm.
And secondly, yeah, we shop in a different store than the other big teams do, because if not for our shopping trade, there would be not a player available to the world to see like Kante. There wouldn't be a
Mm-hmm.
Mahrez. I'm very skeptical if Mahrez or a player like Kante would be picked up by other big teams, because at the end of the day, time is money. And if we hadn't brought in Kante at that time, probably he would have lost his niche by this time. So very instrumental in English football. If even if you're considering the business side of Leicester City, is just not beneficial for us as a whole. It's a beneficial scouting system for all the clubs involved, because we bring them in from the flea markets and you place them in bigger stores. So that's a huge advantage, and we gain from it. Obviously, at the end of the day, the business side of it, we gain a lot from it, and that's how a club should be. We are like Dortmund, but not like Dortmund at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
because Dortmund lets their best players go, and we sort of not let everyone go, because a talisman like Vardy, if it was for Dortmund, Vardy should have gone after 2 or 3 magical seasons. But we cling on to players like leaders like Kasper Schmeichel. We have a hold of Jamie Vardy. So we are building up. Even if you consider the curious case of Wilfred Ndidi, I mean, if it was for any other team, the hype around him would be mountainous kind of a thing. But he plays for us. He plays in a load adder, and that's why I think we don't have enough interest in the market, because plenty of people think Declan Rice has an edge over him. But when you are a Leicester fan and you follow him constantly for the 90 minutes in every weekend, I think it shows you that we are very lucky in those departments, that no bigger teams has yet come sniffing around to land Wilfred Ndidi and lure him away for us. And another factor I think is very instrumental and vital for us is we get triads or duo of players of the same nationality that gels
Mm-hmm.
up the team even more, because Ndidi wouldn't like to go a place where there is no Nigerian players available, and here he finds a chemistry with Kelechi Iheanacho, and not even just in the locker room. And they are joking about not just that, even in the field, you can see how beautifully NDD is able to orchestrate and play a through ball for Kelechi Iheanacho. So that happens. I think Kasper Schmeichel is the only person, and yeah, I mean, Soncho had a partner last time in the form of Cengiz Under, but yeah, I think signing like Damsgaard or anybody would be in the back of the mind for several people at Leicester City to have a Danish duo. But apart from that, I think we are very, and psychologically, we are developing a team for the future.
Yeah, I can see what you mean by the duos. I mean, there's always been something that's special. That's the reason why Leicester won the league. I mean, Christian Fuchs, when he came in, he knew Robert Huth a little bit, but it's more about the squad. And if you watch, for
Yeah.
example, for me, one of the main things is when we went to win the league, we lost 2-1 to Arsenal down to 10 men. And Ranieri said, "You go away and you have your lovely bar." And they went out for it. They went out to Copenhagen. They went drink all, but they have a squad mentality. And bearing in mind, most of that squad has moved on. I mean, you've only got, I think you've got 3 or 4 players now from the squad that won the league. However, that mentality has stayed there. And I think a big reason why that is because of the owners and what they put in place. So we could spend our way out of trouble, but it wouldn't work with the Leicester philosophy. So I think the owners have a lot to do with that as well.
Absolutely, the owners are fantastic, and even my father, who watches the Leicester City games with me, doesn't know the name of all the players. But when he saw that, moment when we are getting coronated with the FA Cup trophy from the Prince, I mean, he saw the emotion and he asked me the story behind why is the owner so emotional? Because the term ownership does mean a lot of shrewd policy. When a team is going up, 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 the owner is happy. But when it goes down, as in the case of many teams, you see the owner, distances himself from the team. But why
Mhm.
was our owner why was it meaning so much for our owner? And I told him the backstory of how his father's dream was being fulfilled at that very stadium. I mean, it was fulfilled when which I was alive, the Premier League trophy. But this was the other part of the other half of the dream, and it was
Mhm.
getting fulfilled, and everybody was emotional. You can't conjure up those emotions. I mean, imagine Tottenham winning the next Carabao Cup or an FA Cup. You wouldn't
Yeah,
see those scenes anywhere in the stadium, despite full capacity at Wembley. You wouldn't see such emotions. It could be their
yeah.
first trophy, first major silverware, but you
It's
wouldn't see
not the
that because we have a connection with the owner.
Yeah, the owner has a connection, and I don't know if you've probably seen all the things, even over Twitter. But even though fans couldn't get to the grounds, people were sent these international packages and stuff to say thank you,
Yeah.
even before the match was played. So it shows you that during this time, they really do care about the fans. Even internationally, they're trying to get that bigger presence out there. But they even to the international, especially over in North America, they're trying to push that. But I think all over the face because they're trying to reach multiple fans, but they're trying to do it in an organic way as well as caring about the fans at home as well. And I think I don't know, as an international fan, you feel like you're recognized as well because I think they're trying to do a lot of stuff on to try and reach out to other countries.
No, I get that interaction part a lot because sometimes, Leicester City retweets some of my picture. Then we have a fantastic, outlet in Premier League India, the
Hmm.
official Twitter handle in India, and they interact with fans a lot. They even send in these beautiful cushions to interact more with the fans. But what I think is, at a point of time during 2010, I think 2010 was the first major boom in football spreading into second and third world countries. At that time, the
Hmm.
World Cup was fantastic. The internet was slowly building up into these nations, and
Hmm.
we missed out on that ride of a train because I think during 2010 we were struggling hard, and a lot of teams, the first football fans eyes land on the Premiership, and when they look around the team, they know they have definitely heard about Manchester United, they have heard from about Arsenal, and a lot of fans happened during that time. But some of the people, would would have loved at that point to be different and support a club that is not out of this big team. So many of them went to the sixth ranked team Tottenham Hotspur, despite them not having anything major, and we
Hmm.
missed out on that opportunity. But when we came into this picture, there were already loyal supporters of this club, and slowly but surely, as we see, there is a lot of disturbances into the what is the proper top six hierarchy. We see Arsenal or Tottenham, maybe one of the other is slipping down, and we are
Hmm.
slowly getting the momentum up. So gradually, yeah, we'll get there. And even if when I'm interacting with the Indian fans, I know there are a very few Indian fans. Okay, maybe 100 in this huge 1.3 billion of population. But winning constantly, winning a silverware anytime. I mean, if even in the next season we manage to win a Carabao Cup and we qualify for the Champions League, it will bring new heads, and we will take time to scout them and find them properly. But at the end of the day, we are growing. It's definitely a feeling that we are growing, and the amount of fans that we have in our group, I mean, the recognized fan that we have recognized thus far, every one of them is a passionate fan. We don't have any Mickey Mouse fan around us. We have all of them in draped in blue, and we just are a proud community at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean that's great to hear, obviously, and I know it will grow within time. Obviously, there's a massive Asian community within Leicester City, within Leicester itself. There's a load of Asian fans that go down to the ground and been going for years as well. I know family members that have been going for 60 odd years now that have been part of the team. But I just want to take it back, obviously, to some of your favourite players playing for Leicester City. Obviously, you're watching some Cambiasso, where you were mentioning one, but is there any other players that kind of epitomise you or is your favourite player to watch either now or since you've been watching Leicester?
First choice, it's a bit weird one, but Sonchu is my favorite Leicester City player currently
Hmm.
because of the no nonsense attitude that he carries. I think that speaks volumes. Our team is very friendly at times, but
Hmm.
I think you need a character with a hothead temper who separates the team and gives the team an aggressive edge over the other. I think in that department, I definitely rate Sonchu as an upcoming vice captain or a leader.
Hmm.
Second favorite, as always, is gonna be Kasper Michael, because Tielemans can score a goal, but the saves that Casper makes at the end of the day, those are what, 2 or 3 goals.
Hmm.
And I don't know how he does that. I mean, an enormous, gigantic shadow with the Casper's name, but he's living up to that hype. People like Erling Haaland didn't have that much of a bigger shadow. His father played in Leeds, but when you compare it with the son of Maldini, three generation talent, you don't see
Hmm.
such stories in football. It's a very difficult task, and at the end of the day, he's playing in the same position as his father did. So it's astonishing for me. Unbelievable story, Kasper Schmeichel, and obviously the third is going to be Jamie Vardy. I mean,
Hmm.
the name is enough to understand why.
Hmm.
And upcoming stars, I think Luke Thomas is a very interesting prospect who I would love to see more of, and Drewsbury Hall. I think
Hmm.
he's going to be the revelation for this season.
Yeah.
Brilliant talent. What he did with Luton Town at that championship, at that position with that team, and bagged all the individual awards that he could get. I think that was a very promising sign for us, because even with the added recruitments in the midfield department, and we have a stronger midfield department. If you compare the four department, we are probably the strongest in the midfield department, and a talent like Drewsbury Hall, who can play in 3 to 4 position in that midfield as a DMF, CMF, AMF. I think it's a brilliant addition for the manager next season.
I think so. And if you think about the options that we have and the age of that midfield, so you've got Ndidi obviously as your first centre, then Tillemans, and then if both of them get injured, then you've got Samore, Hamza Chowdhury, not Ndidi, Mendy as a backup. Then you've got again Dewsbury Hall. So that midfield is going to be absolutely stacked, and then James Maddison as well. So you've always got that team. If we're going to play that midfield, there's going to be tons of options coming in, and Samore again, from what we're hearing from French fans, so he's a real talent as well. So he's going to come into that position, but it's going to be competition for places, which can only be a good thing as well.
Another thing for Somare, I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of people doesn't realize this, but Somare just winning the League One and choosing us over Champions League football speaks volumes of our pulling power at this point. We
Mm-hmm.
see people rejecting Arsenal's I think every other week, but it's simply unbelievable for Somare to at this age choosing us over any big clubs or staying at Lille.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we are doing something right at the end of the day, right?
Yeah, definitely. And again, for the price that we got him at was nothing compared to what he was actually worth as well. I know Lille had to sell him, but however, we got him for an absolute steal. And that's where I think Leicester do their shopping properly and they do it early.
Yeah.
Like we're looking at the likes of Kabak that's going to come in for again nothing deal. But these players are not known about that much. But Samore was, and the fact that we managed to pull him into the squad and he's more than willing to train, I think is fantastic. And I think that the newly built training ground has a lot to do with that as well.
Yeah, money well spent. I mean, Harry Maguire money, where did he go? Why didn't Leicester? I get asked this question a lot. Where is that money? I say, don't you see our training ground at Seagrave? It's one if not the best, one of the best at Europe. And judging where we are a decade behind, it's a lot.
Mm,
It's a
it's
lot
a
at the
lot,
end of the day.
and they're building in the right direction. Things like that means that again, we're not just going to be here for one season then disappear. We're here to stay and compete at that top level. And the signings, as you were saying, are coming along with that.
and and also in every department we are developing, not only in the men's team, the women's team, the last two signings that they have had and coming into the
Mm-hmm.
WSL in such a short period of time, I think the women foxes are not getting enough recognition in the world media as they should, but even their trajectory and their rise is a brilliant story, another underdog story, which will be again they will do something similar to what Leicester City did back in 2016. Even the younger squad, you know it has been
Mm-hmm.
a recruitment on every levels, because Leicester City has understood that you can't build a team investing only in the first men's team. You have to do it
Mm-hmm.
organically. You have to invest in the under 17, then under 21 departments. You have to show promise in Premier League too. You have to do it in every department. Doesn't matter the stature. You have to acquire players organically grow them. Potentially, some of them will leave the club at a right price when they grow up, or become around the senior team age. But at the end of the day, it's just business. You need to develop your own funds and be sustainable with
Exactly.
it.
Exactly. And if you want to, I don't know if you're aware, Akash, we have had some Leicester City women players on the channel. We've had some of the women, the women's manager and things. Definitely check out that on the channel as well. And we've got some with James and Hannah doing some amazing content this year. So I'm really excited for the next few weeks for them to come out with that. But make sure you stay tuned for some of that, because the women's content, as you were saying, is the women's game. They're coming to the top level now. It's becoming fantastic. But I'll let them two talk hopefully in a couple of weeks when they finally start back up as well. Finally, I wanted to ask as well, how have you managed to find the Leicester community in that on Twitter? Because obviously, I think you do. So you were saying you're doing some writing for the Fox of Leicester as well. But how have you found the Leicester City community just in terms of the internet as well?
It's again a very interesting story, because I don't know if you are familiar with a man called Marius Fernandez. Marius
Yes,
Fernandez is,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
He's
So
he's
the
a
man is from,
friend of the show. Yeah.
yeah. So Marius Fernandez is living in Goa, India. Right now
Hmm.
he's at UK, at
Hmm.
Leicester. But he is the biggest Leicester City fan in India, and
Hmm.
even he will rank among top 10 fans in the world, even I think so, because his son is, if I'm not mistaken, his son is the youngest Leicester City supporter to get registered. I think he was a few minutes old when Marius took him to the club and got him registered. So it's a fascinating story. I first got to learn about Marius through Premier League India. They did a story on him where he
Yes.
said that he was supporting Leicester City from 1976,
Hmm.
and since then, I mean, he's univocally, promoting Leicester City. But you can see the struggle. Playing in the second division Skyway Championship is not gonna get you recognition in this country, where not every league does get its telecast rights.
Hmm.
But it was a struggle for him, I can understand. And slowly he built up this community with another person who stays in Leicester, an Indian. So they started recruiting all the Leicester City fans they could find. They would go through posts, they would go through different aspects, Leicester City content. They would ask, if you're a Leicester City fan, do you want to become a part of LCFC India?
Hmm.
And slowly we grew, and at this point we have nearly about 60 members in the group. All are passionate passionate lads, different age groups. We have another person named Bharat Keshwala, who has his own podcast and lives in Leicester. He is a piece of work. He is a very good guy.
Hmm.
So we have different people, and when those big matches happen, this is the fun of it. When the big matches happen, Marius is so crazy that he went to Leicester to see the match in a pub, or maybe it was an outside screening. He went with his family, and simply to another community or another set of fans. They wouldn't understand, why does a
Hmm.
person needs to go to Leicester to watch a game on TV just for
Hmm.
the atmosphere. And Bharat managed to get a ticket to Wembley during the
Oh
FA Cup
wow.
game. At the end of the night, he got sloshed, and I wanted, more than I wanted for us to win, I wanted for them to win, because
Hmm.
I know how passionate they are. I am supporting Leicester City for 5 6 years, but these guys, as Indians, have supported a club which is based in UK, and it's a massive thing for them to get that little bit of happiness supporting all these years. I think it's a beautiful culmination, and Bharat probably got sloshed at the end of the day, but yeah, it was fun all around, and those moments, you live or die for.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And
we
that's
we
what we
enjoyed
remember. That's what we
we
remember as
enjoyed
fans, is
throughout.
the trophies and things and the days out and the celebrations. And final question is, are you ever would you love to come down here again? You were saying to Leicester, we'd love to host you, and potentially, because there's so many fans that we meet from all over the world, we're like, we just love to host you and have you over here. So is there any plans in the future to get over to Leicester?
There was plan. In fact, last year, my mom and dad had their 25th anniversary, and I asked to go and visit the King Power Stadium. Even it was during off season. Even if it was in off season, I was okay with that. I just wanted to visit the dressing room and get a smell of the grass.
Hmm.
So pandemic happened and our plans got cancelled. But yeah, obviously, I mean, if I don't get to King Power Stadium and able to see a game in there, I think life would be incomplete.
We'd love to have you eventually anyway. There's obviously, we'd love to have you. But again, Akash, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you. I know you do some writing for the Fox of Leicester, but where can the people find you as well?
They can find me on Twitter. The handle is at the Regged Joker. And I think that username goes for all my socials. And I also write for Barcelona, which is at Everything Barca. I'm also gonna be starting writing football at Sportskira Football. So watch out for that. And as always, you can best find me on Foxes of Leicester.
Fantastic. No, we really appreciate you coming on once again. Like Akash, I'll leave all the links in the description down below for you. Make sure to check out and follow him. But hopefully everybody's enjoyed this video. We're trying to do more of these kind of videos. If anybody wants to get involved, make sure to message us probably at this Twitter address, probably the best one. But thank you so much again for joining us, Akash. Make sure you like, subscribe the video. We'll see everybody